So what does it mean to be told that your life is over? Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but legally, permanently. 2 life sentences, no exit, no future, no expectation of ever seeing life beyond prison walls. For many, that would be the end of the story. But this evening, we bring you a story that refuses to end where the system tried to leave it. This is the story of Damien N. Green, a man who stood in the shadows of judicial misconduct, a man who could have allowed bitterness, anger, and despair to consume him, but instead, he made a different choice. While the world forgot, while time moved on without him, Damien moved with intention. Every single day he showed up in the prison library, not just to pass time, but to reclaim it. Page by page, law by law, thought by thought, he was building something most people couldn't even see: hope, discipline, and purpose. Preparing for a freedom he had no guarantee would ever come. And then one day, it did. Freedom. But freedom didn't come wrapped in opportunity. No job waiting, no open doors, no easy path forward. Just a man stepping into a world that didn't quite know what to do with him. And here's where his story becomes extraordinary, because Damien Green didn't just try to fit back in, he reinvented himself again and again and again, doing whatever it took to survive, to rebuild, to redefine who he was beyond what had been done to him. And today, the man who once lived behind prison walls is a world traveler. Let that settle in your spirit. From 2 life sentences to seeing the world, this is more than a story of freedom. This is a story of remarkable resilience, of transformation, right? Of a mindset so powerful that not even injustice could contain it. Today, on Confronting Injustice, we invite you to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because Damien Green's journey challenges all of us to ask, what is possible when we refuse to let our circumstances define us? Welcome, Damien. It's a pleasure to have you to share your story. So I would love for the listeners to get to know a bit about you. So could you start by telling your story, starting with your early childhood experiences? We want to know what the foundation was that laid the groundwork for you to be who you are today.
Well, I grew up in the inner city area of Boston, Roxbury. I grew up in Mission Hill.
Okay.
Mission Hill back then was pretty dangerous and very, very chaotic. It was the hood, basically, you know, you're talking about. So I had a large family there, the Green family. Everybody knew us, you know. We lived there for many years. And
that's the projects?
Yes, right.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and so my childhood began like any other inner city kid, going to school, you know, in everyday life, you know, with family and so on.
Right.
And friends and so on.
And you said you came from a large family. How many siblings?
Yeah, a large family, maybe it's about 10. I have about a brother, sister, and then countless uncles and aunts. You know, actually I had 2 grandmothers at the time. My mother was living, my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So I grew up with a lot of strict rules.
Okay.
You know, because back in the old school, how they discipline kids, you know.
With a belt.
Yeah, exactly. You know, harsh treatment with a chair, with a belt, things like that, you know.
Wow.
You always, you always paid attention to what the family said, you know, what your mother said or what your grandmother said, because there was rules to be not broken.
Okay. Interesting.
But the kids in the neighborhood, you know, everyday life kids, I mean, nothing, I mean, you know, mostly grew up being influenced by a lot of street kids, you know, outside of going from school, you know, because I always wanted to look good and, you know, wear the best clothes and, you know, look like any kid would want to look going to school.
And was that a problem for your family?
No, actually it wasn't a problem, because I was actually, as a kid, I was spoiled. I used to have anything I wanted.
Okay.
I used to dress well. I used to have nice clothes because my family made sure of it, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, that part of it, I had everything I wanted, you know, as any kid would probably want, you know.
Okay. All right. And how did you stumble into the criminal legal system?
Well, as I got older, I went to school and saw that lots of money was being made on the street. And my uncles and family members, they're involved in a lot of criminal activity. So I said to myself, the job wasn't paying me enough, you know. At the time I was working for a bank. I went to school to be a designer.
Okay.
The bank job kind of like sidetracked me, but the bank wasn't paying me enough money. So I always thought I have lofty ideas, you know, in how I want to live my life, and I always thought big. And so leading to those thinking and not being influenced by any lawyers or doctors in my life or people, you know, good
Professionals.
I got involved in crime, you know, and there you have it. It was the wrong decision to make. But you know, a lot of kids, young people, they make these decisions because they see their lifestyle is, you know, is what anybody would want to have.
Right. Now, you said you were working at the bank. Is this while you were in high school or after high school?
Yeah, I was working at a bank. I actually went to a school that was a work sponsored school. So half of the day you went to school and half of the day you went to work.
Right.
And so the school actually got me a job working for a bank downtown Boston.
Nice.
And I used to work in the securities department, you know, with bonds and stocks, you know. So you get to see a lot of money there, you know, millions of dollars transferred there, you know, in the banking system.
Right.
And so, you know, it's interesting that my perspective on that influenced me on wanting to make a lot of money.
Because as a high school student, you were working around money. You were working in an environment where there was a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. So, you know, my ideals changed and stuff. Instead of perhaps wanting to be maybe a stockbroker or something like that, I went into criminality and making my own money. I actually never liked working for anybody, you know.
Okay.
I never liked it because I always thought I could be doing more. And as anybody did that was in charge or running a business, I always thought that I could do it too.
Really?
Yes.
Where do you think that came from? Because that sounds like a deep-seated belief in yourself, which unfortunately many young people today don't have that deep-seated belief that they can. Who's responsible for that, do you think?
I don't know who. Maybe I think maybe it's perhaps instinctively me, but my grandmother, she instilled in me a lot of values, like never give up. Like I never give up on anything. That if I focus on it, it takes me. I just keep on the road consistently. You know, I work on my project 7 days a week.
Okay.
So whenever I work on anything, it's 7 days a week because I believe in just putting I like giving it. I like whatever I'm working on. I like giving it everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I think maybe by nature I'm driven, perhaps.
Okay.
But some of it's come from my grandmother. It reared me, you know, that taught me so much. You know, like she was like almost like a gangster. How she like enforced things on me to make me like do things, you know, and not quit or ever give up. So, but instinctively, I just think it's me. I just don't believe in giving up on anything. Okay. I believe in changing course. If something's not working out, and you have to, while you've evaluated and you worked at it time in, time out, and it's not working for you. I believe in changing course because not everything is meant for you.
Right.
Perhaps that business, that particular business may not meant for you, but there may be other businesses that were meant for you. And so my thoughts have always been like that.
Okay, interesting. And so you got involved in the criminal life and ended up in court with
Right.
your freedom on the line.
Right. I ended up, I didn't quite, I was involved in many criminal activities, and I got quite good at it. Started making a lot of money, bought a house at 28 years old, and it all came crashing down on me many years later. You have a good run, you can have a good run at anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an amazing run, nice, beautiful house. I lived there alone. It was a 4-bedroom. I moved in and tore the wall down and put a great room inside of it, because I like pool.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful house. And I still had money. I opened up a business down the street, a little boutique.
Nice. Okay.
And I just thought to myself, I'm gonna create this world for myself and become, successful, So those are my ideals and stuff, right? But later on, after I had a good run, many years making money, making really good money, you make an error. You make an error. When you make an error, it involves jail. It involves prison.
Right.
So I made many errors through, going to jail here and there, but going to the penitentiary, numerous penitentiaries, those errors are pretty major.
Absolutely.
And so, so as I got away and got found guilty on a lot of particular crimes and so on, I made countless other serious crimes and ended up doing a life sentence in the penitentiary. And the judge gave me a life sentence, natural life. That's how they phrase it, natural life.
Okay.
And then they gave me an additional sentence, which actually is like another life term. It's called an 18 to 20, on and after.
So 2 life sentences.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. Because if you beat one life sentence, like say the natural life, which is supposed to be for all your life, natural life,
Mm-hmm.
essentially that second sentence could bury you, because you still got like 20 years to do, at least 18 years out of 18 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
Good behavior, so on. You get 18, not the 20.
Right. Okay.
So essentially that's 2 life sentences that they give you, that they gave me. They don't give that to everybody.
Right. Okay. And I don't want to have our listeners think that we're glorifying anything criminal, because that's not the case. You're saying you got involved in criminal life because that's what was around you. That's your family, your uncles or whatever were doing things, and you kind of followed that lead. And you ended up in jail.
Right.
And you ended up doing many years. How did you spend your time while incarcerated?
Well, in jail, you got to know how to fight and defend yourself, number one. So you got to work out. You got to stay. There's a lot of wolves in jail. A lot of wolves. What I mean is very, very mean, evil people. And so I'm not a big guy, so you got to work out. Just in case someone comes at you, you got to be able to defend yourself.
Okay.
And so, what I used to do day in and day out, months and if not years, is I go to the gym, work out, and I go to the law library.
Okay.
Those were my daily schedules. Like every day that the gym is open and the law library was open, you'd find me in there working on the law, trying to find out about it.
Okay.
And learning about it, reading law books,
Mm-hmm.
asking for help. See, I'm not afraid. I'm not a person that's afraid to ask somebody for help. So I didn't know anything about the law. So I used to ask the guys. I used to ask the law library clerks,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to do my own research.
Okay.
So basically, my research was researching the law, and how I was convicted and how I was confined under those laws.
Okay.
And I did that day in and day out for years. Every day, every day that the law library was open, I was open.
Okay.
I was there.
And was that like 18 years? How long were you in prison?
Yeah, I was in prison about 18 years total. It took me about 4 to 5 years to get accomplished in the law and realize that it was injustice upon me because they convicted me under and they actually essentially broke the law in convicting me under errors that should not have been done. And
Okay.
so basically, after many years of studying the law and learning about issues, that's what you're studying. You're reading about case law,
Okay.
and you're studying case law, and you're looking for your particular issue. So I found my particular issues, and they were constitutional. After many years in the law library, I really understood certain laws and certain issues, joint ventures particularly.
Okay.
See, I was convicted under the law of joint venture.
Interesting. And we are definitely going to have someone come and talk about that because that law is really inhumane. It's crazy.
Well, what happened? They used it in an inappropriate way in my particular case.
Okay.
Because in a joint venture law, it's straight out that there's two people involved. You see, joint venture means two.
Right.
It doesn't mean one person. They convicted me under that particular law on the assumption of joint venture on that particular issue.
Right.
And there's only me. There's only one party as they say, at the crime.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't make sense, and that I'd be convicted under that law. And actually, it's an unconstitutional law. We must be mindful of that particular law is constitutional.
Mm-hmm.
They convicted me under joint venture, and they convicted me also under preemptory challenges. Preemptory challenges is when the jury has the option, or I should say the lawyer does, of challenging a particular juror. For any reason, if you don't like that juror, the lawyer can challenge them and say, we don't want that particular individual on the jury because they have law enforcement, connections.
Sure, conflicts of interest.
Exactly. So as a lawyer has that right to challenge a juror and say, we don't want that person.
Absolutely.
And so the prosecutor disallowed a lot of preemptory challenges. He disallowed them, and the judge confirmed it. And so that was a violation of law. You cannot prevent a lawyer from challenging jurors when it's a requirement, it's a standard.
Right.
So therefore, that particular issue as well helped in reversing my case, because not only do I have one constitutional error, the joint venture, now we're talking about I have a second constitutional error, which is the preemptory challenges, which is law that is required.
Okay. And so it's really interesting, and I think it's important for people to know that if the judicial system is going to hold people accountable for whatever, then the judicial system itself should be held accountable as well when they don't adhere to the law. And it sounds like in your case, in more than one instance, the judicial system was outside the law. They did things that were not legal.
Right. I mean, they sometimes they go out of cases like they just want to convict you.
Right.
And get you off the street. They don't care, just like particularly prosecutors, they don't like losing cases.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to slam you. They catch you with a record and so on. They say, oh, this is a bad guy. So they just go and beyond prosecuting you. They just go to the max because they say this guy here, he's probably done a lot of other stuff. He hasn't getting caught. This guy's a bad guy. Right. And they'll just break their own laws to convict you, which is the case they obviously did, because if not, I wouldn't be here.
Right. And it's interesting, prosecutors and judges have some level of immunity. So it's almost like they're incentivized to lie and make up information because they know they're not going to be held accountable.
Right.
like a DA is not going to be held accountable because they have, is it prosecutor? No, it's some kind of
immunity.
Immunity. And so there are, I think, a lot of people who are sitting in jail right now. Well, let me say this. The probably 70 or 80% of people who are exonerated because of prosecutorial or police misconduct. Police, prosecution, sometimes judges are complicit, and they've been getting away with this for a very long time. And so when you hear of someone being exonerated, oftentimes it's because someone fabricated, they lied, and had someone incarcerated falsely.
Right. There's a lot of that going on, and I mean, DAs they don't like to lose cases. Mm-hmm. See, district attorneys, they don't like to lose cases because it goes against their record, and say they're trying to like go to perhaps rise in their political ambitions. That having a good ratio of wins, as a prosecutor, exceedingly helps their political career.
Absolutely.
Because they could always put it on their resume. I'm a successful prosecutor, convicted countless crimes, conviction rate is 80, 90%. It doesn't look good if they get losses on their record.
Right. Which is really unfortunate, but that's the reality. And I think a lot of people believe that, if someone's in jail, they must be guilty. Not always. And just because someone is a prosecutor or even a judge doesn't mean that they're honest individuals.
Right. They could be unethical, but they hide behind a robe
that protects them. But let's talk about, so you had 2 constitutional errors which resulted in your release. What happened after you got out?
Okay, so getting out of the penitentiary is, after many years as I've done, was like damn near 18 years. There's huge challenges because the world changes like a year or 2 or 5 years, everything is completely changed. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn, how the new world works, and adjust. You building a resume. How are you gonna find a job? You need to have a resume.
Right.
So you have to build a resume. They don't have a lot of computers in the penitentiary or jail, mm-hmm. So you don't have that access. Some of them come with. I mean, I did work in a library for a while, but it didn't have computers as we have it today. We could just do research like quickly.
Right.
So, the challenges are countless. So you got to go. I used to go to these work centers and learn how to create an email. Mm-hmm. You have to learn about. I had to learn how to create an email back then. I mean, emails were in the very beginning of using emails.
Right.
So you have to learn how to use an email to file an application, because how they're going to respond to you. So I had to learn all these things, right? And basically, I looked for a job every day. I had made a promise to myself, if I ever got out. I actually promised it to God, actually. While I was in the shower, I promised him that I wouldn't commit any crimes if I got blessed. I remember thinking like that.
Really?
Yes, I remember thinking about God helping me. I usually keep my word, mm-hmm. And so I made that promise if I ever got a shot. So that kind of like motivated me to be successful, actually, because every day while I was out I looked for a job every day. I was staying with a family member, one of my dear aunts that's mm-hmm. very loyal to me, and she looked after me. And as I looked for a job day in, day out, it took me like maybe weeks, if not months, maybe I would say months to find a job. And my last day of looking for a job, I was tired, and I went to go look for this particular job, and I applied for it, and they agreed to see me on this particular job. And it was working in housing management, okay. Apartment management, property management company. Mm-hmm. And so they hired me because they needed desperately a night guy, the 12 to 7, because it's difficult to find people that work that want to work those midnight hours.
That's right.
And I told them that I'd work for one of your other companies, and they said, really? Okay, would you like this job? They offered it me just flat out based upon I worked for this other mediocre company of theirs. I didn't know it was affiliated with them,
Okay.
but they didn't pay me much money. I just quit, right? And I couldn't survive on that. And so they said, oh, you work for an affiliate company. Oh, very well. Oh, would you like the job? Would you like this job? We need you immediately. And I was like, oh, certainly, I'm your man. And they said to me, oh, we're going to give you, we're $18 an hour back then. They said, we're going to give you $18.21 an hour, and we're going to raise you up to $24 an hour after, you're with us for a while, trial period, and we'll see how things go. And we'll raise your rate, and we want you aboard, and we want you working with our company as a porter, which is like a high-level janitor, right, in an apartment building. And then they transitioned me to concierge, which now I had a better job. Right. At the front desk, when people come in, they see people like me, and we greet them. So after working for many years for this company, I had built an amazing life. Like, I used to live in in the suburbs, and because I had that crazy income that I had never had as a young man, legitimately, I could afford now a $2,000 apartment up there in Woburn. I used to get. I looked at an apartment, and they had said to me, "Oh, we have this apartment available." I said, "Really?" And it was like, and I was like, but they was like, "But most people don't accept it because it has a boiler room underneath the apartment, and the floors get very warm and hot. So we've been having trouble renting this place. Would you be interested in this place?" I said, "Of course I'd be interested." I said, "I think that's heated floors. That's pretty."
Really?
I said, "That's heated floors."
Especially in the winter.
Yeah, I said, I'll be doing great. And I was like, and it was like, "Well, we'll offer this apartment to you for $1,500. We'll reduce it for you because this is an average apartment we're offering it at $2,000, but because of the boiler room underneath the floor, we're going to give it to you for $1,500. Would you take it?" And I was like, "Of course, yes, I'll take that. I'll take that." And so I moved up there and bought lots of furniture. It was a beautiful apartment complex with a pool outside, a big grand pool outside, and rolling hills as you go up to your apartment. Almost like it's like in a Roman type theme apartment because they had columns, as the entrance of the building, and it's pretty grand. You don't mind taking somebody home with you because they're gonna be. It's grand,
it's impressive.
Yeah, it's like in Italy almost that level. And so I was proud to go home.
Of course.
And every night I'd go home and celebrate that I was there and thriving. I bought a new car and everything like that. My credit score was over 700, 740, something like that.
Okay, based on this job that you got as a concierge.
Exactly.
Nice.
My whole lifestyle was based on that job, and that was my error, because I never lived like that. I never really based my life on working for a job, but this job paid me so well that I became accustomed to a great lifestyle. And so it all came crashing down on me one time later on as a racist manager came on board, and he used to, disrespect me in many ways, and I had to respond to him, because, I'm not that type of person that accepts it, right? So I had to respond to him. Ultimately, in corporate, it takes a while for them to fire you. They have to build up a paperwork, a chain. So he fired me, right?
Okay.
So.
Why do you say he was a racist person?
Well, I say that because a lot of the things that he used to do and talk to me were racially toned, the way he would talk to me, down to me and stuff, and I'd have to correct him, and tell him, I'm not that guy you want to talk to like that, And, actually, he was kind of weak in a sense, because one time, I raised my voice at him, and I noticed that he jumped. He got nervous. So after that, I knew, that he was a weak person.
Right.
That he was just looking to intimidate, He's a big guy, 6'9" or whatever, right? So he used to follow me around with the cameras and stuff at night, you know, like watch me with the cameras, because we had cameras throughout the building. You know, he used to monitor the cameras, you know. You know, where were you? Where were you at this particular time? What floor were you on? What were you doing? I said, you know, I used to have to correct them many times, you know, you don't talk to me like that, you know, it's not professional.
Right.
And so I had to let him know that, you know, I'm not that guy that you should really be talking to like that.
Right.
You know, of course, he knew nothing about my history, nothing like that, you know, because unfortunately, fortunate for myself, they didn't do a background check.
Isn't that interesting? Wouldn't get away with that today, though. They do background checks. So you ended up getting fired from that job.
Exactly.
And what happened?
So I ended up getting fired. I didn't go back to my own criminal nature. What I did is I started to look for ways how to survive, right? And I didn't want to stay with family that much. I had a car at the particular time. It was a small little car, but I used to sleep in it. And then I was like, I can't take this. You know, it didn't take long for me.
So you became homeless?
Yes. After I lost my job, I became homeless. And so I used to look for places to stay. And so I looked at a shelter. You know, people are afraid of shelters and so on, but I found a shelter that was very well established and so on. You know, a clean bed, a nightly, they serve you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Basically, it's a clean bed and a locker. Okay. And it's a place out of the weather. And so while I stayed at that shelter, I said to myself, how can I make some money? So I went online, and I went online and studied ways to make money online. So I used to make most of my money on eBay, Amazon, not so much Walmart, but a lot of other sites that are online. Mm-hmm. I used to research it, what other people were selling, and then I would go and look for products myself, and then sell them, you know, on these sites. And so after getting listing perhaps maybe 60 or 70 products online, I started generating money from those particular products.
Interesting.
So yeah, these products, I acquired them to many thrift shops and many places where I saw I can get a product for discount, and I will research the product, and then I would mark it up and resell it online. Okay. And I looked for mostly like luxury items, items that I knew that had good brand names and people would want. And so I never was wanting for money while I was homeless. I always had money because I was always online. And I used to keep like a storage bin at a warehouse that held all my products. Okay. Because remember, I'm homeless, so there's no place to hold your products if you're homeless. So I used to rent a storage bin, and it used to be filled to the top as I became buying more and more. So I have storage bin maybe like 80, 90. At tops, it had about 250, if not 300 products inside my storage bin. Wow. Yeah, it was big. I always upgrade all the time. I had a big storage. I need a bigger one. I need a bigger one. And so I would sell money like that. I would make money like that online while I was homeless.
But not enough to get an apartment.
Well, actually, you know, it's difficult to get an apartment when you just became, you know, homeless and so on. So that took time, you know. After your credit score is destroyed, when you become homeless, it's not that easy to get an apartment. Right. You know, you have to be very creative, you know. Absolutely. So, you know, they're gonna look at your credit score. No one's gonna give you an apartment with a destroyed credit score. Right. Then you're not gonna pay. Right. So I had to spend many years rebuilding my credit and working on it by I used to get secured credit cards. Yep. Are you familiar with those? Mm-hmm. Yes, and so you put money on a card, and then you use that particular balance for your charges, and it builds up your credit. So I used to think of creative ways. See, one thing that I learned while being in prison, and it's probably carried me all throughout my life, and I've learned it probably early on in my life, is that you have to be consistent in working at anything. So if you work at something like whatever it is, day in and day out, you will figure it out. If you have that dogged mentality, right?
Right.
That you will accomplish whatever you want. You just have to be focused without any TV. See, I never watch TV or anything.
Oh, no distractions.
No, it's not that much TV in prison. Although it's minimum, but I was never into. I call it the idiot box. I never was really that much into watching TV.
Okay.
So my only focus is what I'm focused on. Like whatever it is, I'm only focused on that, and I'm very driven in that sense. Once I latch on to it, I'll just keep going on and on. So that has helped me throughout my whole life, because I believe in just giving it all.
Right.
I leave it out on the court.
Well, listen. So that takes us to the next sort of chapter in your life. Tell us how you went from being homeless, selling online, to being this traveler who travels all over the world now.
Right.
And on the verge of moving to, is it Thailand in about a year?
Yeah, I'm looking at moving very shortly out of the country. I'm working on that. I am going to be transitioning to that. I'm working on plans to elevate my life. Because what happened is I found an apartment finally, and I had some income coming in from my online business and sales. I just multiplied that, kept moving on that, and just working that business model. And I became making most of my money from online, which allowed me to afford an apartment.
Okay.
So that was a big accomplishment. Once I found an apartment and I was generating a consistent income, one that I knew I could live on, I started traveling, because I had always had that fantasy or drive the desire to travel.
Right.
So I'd travel and go to places. I've been to all over the world except Europe and Africa, but I've been to Asia. I've been to Southeast Asia, South America, many places in the Caribbean, just to name a few. Costa Rica, I've been to Brazil, I've been to a lot of countries in the Bahamas, many countries in the Caribbean, St. Martin, Costa Rica, I think I mentioned that, DR.
Yep.
I've been Thailand. Every place I go, I usually go twice and stay a month at a time.
Wonderful.
But I never would have thought that I could actually travel in such a way, because when I go on vacation, I go for at least 30 days.
Okay.
I'll get like an Airbnb, and I'll just,
Yeah. Can I say, I want you to share the books, because you are an author, right? And you are the owner of an AI company. And so if you can share about your books and how these came into being, and then just words of wisdom to people who may be struggling somewhere, who think they cannot, or who are just, wow, I wish I could do some of the things that he's done. Like,
well, I believe that you should never give up. It's one of my things of life that I live by. You should really never give on yourself and trying to do anything, because you can achieve anything that you really want. You just have to study and work hard, because you only beholden to yourself if you fail. So you must give it everything, and at least leave it all on the court, as they say, so that you can, be successful. While I was traveling, I wanted to earn, I always think about making more money. So that's always my train of thought, the entrepreneur. Some say hustler's instinct. I don't know what it is. But this book here, I created this book here, and it's a Thailand book, right? This book here is called the 2025 Thailand Vacation Travel Guide. And I created this book while I was on my trip in Thailand. And I became more better at writing, and so I created a second book, which is called the Thailand Solo Men's Travel Guide.
okay.
Yeah.
Because you travel solo. You travel by yourself.
Right. I travel solo. I always travel solo. I just like moving like that, because that's just who I am. I mean, I don't like groups of people. I like to go to some place at a whim, and I like to. I'm that type of explorer that I like to plan trips and places that I like to go. So I always travel solo, and I enjoy it, the freedom of it.
Right, right. And there was a lot to traveling too, because when you go to Thailand or somewhere where English is not the first language, you really have to be able to negotiate your way through that whole system.
Right. You have to learn a new culture, essentially. You have to learn how to move within another culture.
Right.
I mean, I used to take the train, in countries like Colombia, Medellin. I've been to Medellin, Colombia, and Medellin is the only city that has a train system in Colombia. And so I used to learn. One time I went to the train station, and the train stations in Colombia are spotless. They're just clean. There's no trash nowhere, no even trash cans. There's
really?
like a open present. There's the train stations. So I used to go to a train station, wonder how I would take the metro there, and it was all in Spanish. So I used to have to ask some of the people there, the attendants, how do I pay for it and go through the system, and I used to learn how to do that. You also have to know about different cultures and certain visas if you want to stay there longer.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know about country's visa. Each country has a particular visa system that you may have to apply for.
Right.
If you're on a vacation, you can just stay up to 30 days or so on. So I find that traveling to different countries, you have to really do your homework on where you want to stay, where you want to go for your vacation experience, how you're going to get there, by boat, by car, by tour guide. All of those plans have to be made before you travel out of the country. You have to have your passport in order. You have to have your money right. You have to have at least 2 credit cards and a debit card in case one credit card doesn't work. You got another one. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of details that you must adhere to when you travel out of the country. Right. Because it's not like the U.S. Right. Usually the benefit of traveling out of the country, I find, and which I enjoy it the most, is because your money goes far. Right. The U.S. dollar, it's multiplied by sometimes 10 times in another country.
Interesting. So you can use your U.S. money and live large somewhere else.
Exactly. See, that's why a lot of immigrants and people of other countries, they come to this country because they know the value of the dollar, and they make their money, and they send money back home, and they go back home and they can perhaps open up a little business something for themselves, because they realize that the dollar is much stronger than their dollar. Mm-hmm. So that's what you really you win with when you travel out of the country. You win because your dollar is magnified by whatever currency they have. The dollar is going to buy you more.
Wow, that's wonderful. And so if people want to get your books, how can they get your books, 1? And 2, tell us about the AI company that you...
Oh, sure, it's a pleasure. So you can get my books on Amazon. They're both on Amazon. One is called the Thailand Solo Men's Travel Guide by Damien Green, and it looks like that, the color. Okay. And you can easily find it. It looks just like this. And this particular book is from the solo men's perspective. I saw a woman's book on solo travel. I thought to write a men's book. Nice. This right here is my first book on the Thailand Vacation Travel Guide, and I wrote this, essentially it was my first project, and so yeah. Okay. But so both of them are my babies. One is just growing up more than the other, and so these books are available on Amazon as we speak. Okay. People just go in there and type in Thailand Solo Men's Travel Guide by Damien Green, and you'll see my book.
And before you tell us about the AI company, if someone wanted to go to Thailand but wanted a consultant, just because there's so much you really have to do, you cannot just book a ticket and go. Do you provide consultation? Is that something?
Yes, I am available for consultation if a person wants to chat with me. Okay. And I can leave my email so if someone wants to hit me up, they can get some first-hand experience on traveling there, because I've been to Thailand at least twice, and I believe in going multiple times to a place that I like. So I went back twice, and so the third time will essentially be soon as well. maybe 6 months. I try to travel every 6 months because I just enjoy it so much. But I'd be happy to consult anyone that wants to go to Thailand or any other country, you know, that I've been to, and particularly in the Caribbean and other countries.
Right. And I asked that question because I know while you were away, we communicated, and you were telling me that you had this Airbnb, then you were going to travel for a few days, and then you were going to come back to that Airbnb. So there are a lot of moving parts.
Right. I travel like that, and it's also in my book. So if you want to travel like, essentially like a professional, or at least that's my sense of it, you always want to have a base apartment. I call a base apartment as your home.
Okay.
So when I travel, I usually go to a country and I stay like 30 days, a month, a little bit more. And so you want to have, the way I travel is that I always look for a base apartment. So I look for an Airbnb, that one that I can afford, and the one that I like. I have to like it because I'm on vacation. I have to have certain things that I like. I always like balconies. I got to have a balcony and got to be near the beach. Okay. And so I look for properties like that. And generally I look for something that's in my budget, but more so exceeds my budget because I want to live well on my vacation. So what I do with the Airbnb is essentially I pay for it for the whole month, and that becomes my home. So if it's $800, usually these countries you can get Airbnb for like $500 a month, $800 a month near the beach.
Nice.
And it's amazing. You can get something like that, like $700 for a month. You can get for Airbnb, and so I would pay for that in total, and then I would like reserve other places that I'd want to visit throughout the country, such as another hotel. I'll probably go to like take a boat and go to an island, and then I would have maybe a bungalow there. I actually did that for my birthday. I had planned a trip to Railay Island in Thailand. It's an island. Thailand has many islands, and so for my birthday I took a long-tail boat over the ocean to a bungalow on an island, and so that's my second residence. So and after you finish the island, you want to go and maybe do some more exploring. I reserved like another room in Bangkok because I had never gone to Bangkok. I was living outside of Bangkok in Pattaya, in an area called Pattaya. That's how you pronounce it. And so I had wanted to go to Bangkok, so I reserved another room in Bangkok in a hotel there. And so now I got about like at least 3 places I've stayed at already while I'm on vacation.
Wow, nice.
And so
nice.
I always believed in essentially having that base apartment though, because if anything ever happened to me, I need to just make it back to my home, which is paid in full.
Right.
If I should lose my wallet or something should happen to me, then I have a place like that. So as if I blow my money or whatever, dire straits, I know that I can reach back to my base apartment and then I usually have money in my safe, and I can make it back home.
Wow, wonderful. Okay, before we run out of time, tell us about the AI company that you...
Oh, right. So now it is the AI era, and so if you don't know, you better ask somebody because
really,
AI is taking over everything, and essentially the world is AI now. People need to get familiar with ChatGPT. I study and analyze maybe 8 or 9 AIs that I work with, and so I've became very familiar with AI right now, and I create a lot of content with AI right now. So I saw a little opportunity in hotels needing content. So what my company does is that we create promotional videos for hotels, resorts, and Airbnbs, and also other businesses. And so working with my company, we can produce AI videos for any particular company, and we use AIs. We use the best AIs in our systems to accomplish this. And so therefore, it's a great opportunity. I've already landed one contract, and it's actually a new company, and we're doing real well considering we're newly launched.
Okay.
So basically, the company name is called Global 5 Star, and we are going to be operating not only in the Northeast but also in Asia.
Nice. Good, good, good. So listen, as we bring this conversation to a close, I want you to have the closing words. But before that, I want, there are many takeaways. You have had an incredible journey from a kid in the projects to now a world traveler. A lot of bumps along the way, but a lot of lessons learned, right? Like, don't give up, keep your faith, study it, don't give up on yourself. Just a lot, and be adventurous, right? We only live once, be adventurous, and you clearly have done that. But I want our listeners to leave with the idea that, wow, this is possible. This is something that I can do as well.
Yeah, you can do it no matter what you're facing.
Or what your beginning doesn't have to determine your outcome.
It doesn't. Wherever you were, you can transcend from that and become whatever you want. The principal thing is to never give up and to do your homework. You have to be working at something to be a success.
Right.
And if you're not working on anything, you won't be a success at anything. So if I could leave anything on the table with anyone, it's to just never give up. Just, you have to always be working hard at whatever you're trying to achieve. And, it's tough, right? I mean, it's not easy, but you must never give up and surround yourself with people that are similar to you. It's crucial to have that, by the way, that mindset.
Right. And you're so right, the company that you keep. You don't want to be around people who are not forward thinking. Like,
right.
It's easy to be average. If you don't want to be average. You want to be in a company of people who are about something, who want to be about something, who are doing things.
You have to be, in my opinion, you have to surround yourself with people that are like you. If there's no one like you, just go on the internet and learn about people who you want to become, because the internet now is available so that you can find people like you and study them. You want people like you. Like, if you're a good person or you're ambitious, you have to have those type of people around you.
Right.
You can't have people that are just barely making it, or they're just, they have no desire to do anything. They aren't working on any projects or anything like that. Then that means they're not ambitious.
Right.
So you have to be around people like that.
And it doesn't mean that they're not good people, but if they're not ambitious, then you just want to be mindful, because our income is associally aided, closely aligned with the 5 closest friend groups, right? And so it is really important too. Sometimes you have to step away and just do the solo thing.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're better than anyone else or worse. It's just sometimes, in order to do you, to live your best life, you have to step away from some spaces.
Right. You have to be solo. If you really want to accomplish something, if you just work on it solo by yourself, and have no distractions, you can do it. I mean, I've done it. Like, I reinvented myself many times, and no one is really, people have helped me, but I had to help myself. Right. Because no one will help you unless you're trying to help yourself.
Right.
They see you're trying to do something, and people you come into your life that will be meant to help you.
Right. So those 18 years that you spent in the law library paid off.
Oh,
diligence
for sure.
Paid off. And
that's the word, diligence and consistency. I've learned that consistency is key, and being diligent, and driven to succeed, and have that desire, because I could have been still there, walking around in a circle.
Absolutely. Well, that was the plan. That was the plan for you to spend your life.
Yeah, they call it the yard. I could have been walking around the yard, like, Walpole used to call it that, and in Norfolk too. Norfolk, they used to call it the yard. So I spend time in Norfolk, and so they call it the yard. You walk around the yard like a robot, like a zombie. It's around a circle, round and around, and you do that for exercise. And so, if I had never really worked hard at getting out of prison, I would still be there.
Yeah. So listen, Damien Green, I want to thank you for being a guest on Confronting Injustice, for sharing your story, and for spreading little seeds of hope, and your knowledge. And I wish you the very best. And if you move to Thailand, James and I will come visit you. For
Well,
sure.
you better come.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at a few countries. I'm looking at Vietnam as well.
Okay.
Also looking at Costa Rica, because I'm familiar with both of those places.
Okay.
I'm also looking at Medellin, Colombia, because I lived there for a while as well. I think I visit that country about 3 times. But so yeah, I'm looking at a few places. But yeah, you better come and see me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So welcome. Well, listen to me. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to our next guest speaker.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.